A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Random House Audio presents Star Wars Shatterpoint by Matthew Woodring Stover. Read for you by Jonathan Davis.
From the private journals of Mace Windu.
In my dreams, I always do it right. In my dreams, I'm on the arena balcony, Geonosis. In my dreams, the purple flare of my blade sizzles the gray hairs of Dooku's beard, and in the critical semisecond it takes Jango Fett to aim and fire, I twitch that blade and take Dooku with me into death, and save the galaxy from civil war. I could have done it. I could have done it. Because I knew. I could feel it. In the swirl of the force around me, I could feel the connections Dooku had forged between Jango and the Trade Federation, the Geonosians, the whole Separatist movement. Connections of greed and fear, of deception and bald intimidation. Dooku was the Shatterpoint. I knew it. That is my gift. Imagine a Coruscant gem, a mineral whose interlocking crystalline structure makes it harder than Durasteel. You can strike one with a 5-kilo hammer and do no more than dent the hammer's face. Yet, that same crystalline structure which gives the Coruscant strength also gives it Shatterpoints. Spots where a precise application of carefully measured force, no more than a gentle tap, will break it into pieces. I can see Shatterpoints. The sense is not sight, but see is the closest word Basic has for it. It is a perception, a feel of how what I look upon fits into the Force and how the Force binds it to itself and to everything else. Put simply, when I look at you through the Force, I can see where you break. Situations have Shatterpoints, like gems, but those of situations are fluid, ephemeral, appearing for a bare instant, vanishing again to leave no trace of their existence. They are always a function of timing. There is no such thing as a second chance. Mace Windu stopped in the doorway and tried to recover his Jedi calm. An arc of sweat darkened the cowl of his robe, and his tunic clung to his skin. He'd come straight from a training bout at the temple without taking time to shower. And the brisk pace, almost a jog, he'd maintained through the labyrinth of the Galactic Senate had offered no chance for him to cool off. Palpatine's private office, in the center of the Supreme Chancellor's suite beneath the Senate's great rotunda, opened before him, vast and stark. Within was only Yoda, alone, perched solemnly on his hover chair, hands folded around the head of his stick.
"On time you are,"
the ancient master observed.
"But barely. Take a chair. Composed we must be. Serious, I fear this is."
I wasn't expecting a party. Mace's boot heels clacked on the polished floor. The courier said this is about the operation on Haruun Kal, and the fact that of all the Jedi Council and the Republic High Command, only the 2 senior members of the Council had been summoned by the Chancellor, implied that the news was not good.
"But it is not the planet Haruun Kal that brings you in a sweat to this office,"
Yoda said.
"Concerned for Depa you are."
Mace lowered his head. I know. The Force will bring what it will. But Republic intelligence has reported that the Separatists have pulled back. Their base outside Pelik Ba is abandoned.
"Yet return she has not."
Mace knotted his fingers together. Haruun Kal is still nominally a Separatist planet, and she's a wanted woman. It won't be easy for her to get off-world, or even to signal for extraction. The local militia uses all kinds of signal jamming, and whatever they don't jam, they triangulate. Whole partisan bands have been wiped out by one incautious transmission.
Your friend she is. Care for her you do.
Mace didn't meet his eyes. His feeling for Depa Billaba ran deep. She had been on-world for 4 standard months. She couldn't communicate regularly. Mace had tracked her activities by sporadic Republic intelligence reports of sabotage at the Separatist starfighter base and the fruitless expeditions of the Battleground militias trying and failing to wipe out Depa's guerrillas or even contain them. More than a month ago, Republic intelligence had sent word that the Separatists had pulled back to the Gavarno cluster because they could no longer maintain and defend their base. Her success could not have been more brilliant, but he feared to learn at what cost. But it can't simply be that she's missing, or... He felt Yoda's eyes on him still, and gave half an apologetic shrug. I was only thinking, if she'd been captured or killed, there would be no need for such secrecy. The creases on Yoda's face deepened around his mouth, and he made that sound of mild disapproval that every Jedi would instantly recognize.
Frivolous speculation is, when patience will reveal all.
Mace nodded silently. It's maddening, Master. If only, 10 years ago we could have simply reached out.
Cling to the past. A Jedi cannot.
Yoda interrupted sternly. His green stare reminded Mace not to speak of the shadow that had darkened Jedi perception of the Force. This was not discussed outside the temple, not even here.
Member of the Jedi Council she is. Powerful Jedi. Brilliant warrior.
She'd better be. He tried to smile. I trained her.
But worry you do. Too much. Not only for Depa, but for all the Jedi.
Supreme Chancellor Palpatine entered the room, accompanied by another man. Yoda stepped down from his hover chair. Mace rose in respect. The man with Palpatine was hardly larger than a boy, though clearly well past 40. Lank, thinning brown hair draped a face so thoroughly undistinguished that Mace could forget it the instant he glanced away. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he held a cloth handkerchief to his nose, and he looked so much like some minor bureaucratic functionary that Mace automatically assumed he was a spy. We have news of Depa Billaba. This man has just come from Haruun Kal. I'm afraid, well, perhaps you should simply examine the evidence for yourself. The agent opened a large travel case and produced an old-fashioned holoprojector. He spent a moment fiddling with controls, and then an image bloomed above the mirror-polished ebonite that served as Palpatine's desk. Mace's hands became fists. He couldn't seem to get his breath. The shimmering corpses were each the size of his finger. He counted 19. They looked human or close to it. There was a scatter of prefabricated huts, blasted and burned and broken. The ruins of what must have once been a stockade wall made a ring around the scene. The jungle that surrounded them all stood 4 decimeters high and covered 1.5 meters of Palpatine's desk. After a moment, the agent sniffled apologetically. This is, seems to be, the work of loyalist partisans, under the command of Master Billaba. A fist clenched in Mace's chest. That this soft little man, this civilian, could accuse Depa Billaba of such an atrocity, even by implication, grabbed his heart with sick fury. But Mace had been a Jedi far too long for anger to gain an easy grip. A breath or two opened that fist around his heart, and he stood. I have seen nothing to indicate Depa was involved. Master Windu, Palpatine began. What was the military value of this outpost? Military value? The agent looked startled. Why, none, I suppose. These were Balawai jungle prospectors. Some Jups operate as a kind of irregular militia, but irregulars are nearly always men. There were 6 women here. And Balawai militia units never bring their, children. Children, Mace echoed. The agent nodded, reluctantly. 3. Bioscans indicate 1 girl about 12, the other 2 possibly fraternal twins, boy and a girl, about 9. Had to use bioscans. His sickly eyes asked Mace not to make him finish, because a few days in the jungle wouldn't have left enough of them to be identified any other way.
Mace said,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?